We have Sir Emerito Gonzales of the University of Santo Tomas, who will be sharing his paper on enhancing the narrative plight of women teachers through Judith Butler's performative feminism. Emer?
Yes, I'm here. Screen share. Can I screen share?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Thank you. All right. Okay, yeah. Good morning. Good morning, dear fellow lovers of philosophy. All right. So this is part of what I am trying to work on for a possible bigger project later. What can the performative feminism of Judith Butler offer to help improve the welfare of women teachers? This main question will be broken down into three smaller questions, namely, what is feminism? What is performative feminism? What does performative feminism suggest to improve the welfare of women teachers? What is feminism? Feminism aims to gain a more substantial equality for women, or a more just arrangement for women in the social and political institutions. However, it does not presuppose a common background that leads to a conclusive program. Rather, the program of feminism goes forward by giving critical attention to its premises, which are then clarified as it negotiates the diverse interpretations on the issues and representation of women. The feminist theory and the feminist movement are distinct yet reciprocal entities, in such a way that the feminist movement is the content of the feminist theory. The feminist theory is not limited within the academe. Instead, it happens whenever a new possibility is imagined, or a collective self-reflection takes place, or a disagreement over values, priorities, and language emerges. Furthermore, the feminist theory leads to performative deeds. It is the start of social and political transformation, and then it is followed up by the interventions of concrete actions, sustained work, and institutionalized practice. For example, what would be a better life for women teachers in the university? Who determines how it is improved? Who is included or not included? How can we influence the academy to put new values or new meanings for women teachers? Butler strongly suggests that the institution would stop legislating for all lives what is livable only for some people, and to stop recommending for all lives what is non-livable for many people. For instance, a certain change of policy in the workplace may be more beneficial for men teachers, but disadvantageous to women teachers. Butler believes that the pursuit of identity, or even just the desire for identity, is a transformative effort. There are the desires for recognition or identity at work, because a livable life goes through several degrees of stability. For example, we may ask, are these women teachers not yet stable enough in their work in the academia? The answer can be both affirmative and negative because it depends on how much recognition is given to the women teachers. And behind their discontent is the desire to live better. What is performative feminism? Several views of performative feminism began in the late 1990s. One of its popular advocates since then is Judith Butler, an American philosopher and socio-political thinker. Performative feminism is a feminist political movement aligned with the democratic process, but it does not begin from the usually imposed binary types and distinctions of gender. Performative feminism highlights the following. First, sexual difference is not relevant for a democratic citizenship. Second, democracy is the confluence of several axes of difference, identity, and subordination on gender issues. Third, political judgments can be made without known rules. New universals can be created, and new communities can be formed. Fourth, there is no single definition of a woman. Fifth, my identity is created as I live and externalize who I am. And lastly, feminism is the project of anticipating and creating better political futures, but without presuppositions. Performative feminism appeals to other people, that the concepts of dignity and of infinite value in each person be upheld. Thus, it implies that dignity, autonomy, and personhood are ideals that the people aspire to attain. These are not moral facts that are discovered, applied, or realized. Butler believes that the doer is variably constructed in and through the deed. She goes beyond the usual way of focusing on who is the subject behind the act. Instead, she emphasizes the discursively variable construction of each person, in the other person, and through the other person. Butler's performative feminism undermines the following claims. One, that there is a stable, pre-existing subject prior to the given culture or society. Second, that the agent may have been a product of the culture and the agent has the capacity for a reflexive mediation. And third, that the culture and the discourse do not constitute the agent, but restricts or surrounds the agent. Thus, if the doer is prior to the deed itself, then the doer cannot exactly identify with his or her own locality, and the conditions for any local intervention or remedy will not be suitable. In an analogy, Butler says that each person only picks up the tools right there and then where they lie. She is able to use such tools because they are available in front of her. Therefore, in performative feminism, gender is always a doing, but not a doing by a ready-made agent who pre-existed before the act of doing itself. The category of who is a woman cannot be packaged in a one-size-fits-all definition and then marketed as such internationally by a first world-centric imposition. The better approach is to clarify how it is to be a woman in the variety of cultures or localities. So there is a need to reevaluate the local conceptions of who is the feminine, the basic needs and conditions of how to be feminine, the human being generically, or the woman specifically, is being defined differently within varieties of historical and cultural circumstances, and its basic needs and entitlements are also defined differently. In its barest form, my performativity is not a single deed, it is a repetition or a ritual which I do, and it attains its effects through its naturalization in the context of my body in a culturally sustained temporal duration. For instance, the way I value my own gender is a product of my repeated acts, which are affirmed by the way I present and treat my body. Performative feminism contributes to the enhancement of the conditions of women who live on the sexual margins while hoping for a more livable life. Any human life becomes foreclosed when the alleged right way, quote unquote, is decided in advance. When we perceive when what we perceive is right is automatically imposed to all without first trying to enter into the community to discover what is right or proper. And for our last question, what does performative feminism suggest to improve the welfare of women teachers? The women teachers need to be actively involved in the discourses. They must be well represented from the planning up to the implementation of new policies that directly affect women. They cannot be left out from the decisions made on, say, how to improve in their work, who is the more fit employee or who is not. Because different demands ask for assurance and or compliance, and the worker prior to such demands was not yet composed or made ready and not yet well rehearsed to comply with such expectations. Secondly, whenever possible, but not for practicality and convenience, the men and the women must be treated interchangeably at work. This ought to remain as an ideal mindset, given the fact that there are more social disadvantages that women go through in the political circumstances of their respective locality, like maternity leave, pregnancy, etc., and care for children. The evaluation undergone, thirdly, the evaluation undergone must be seen as positive and never negative. When a specific policy is called into question or evaluated, it is being revitalized. It is not necessarily debunked or negated. The given policy by now does not function as effectively as it did long before. For example, the need to review the criteria in giving out appointments as the committee chairman or a member, in assigning thesis advisors, in distributing teaching load, and in prioritizing work schedules. For the better exercise of self-determination, the policies of the institution wherein viable choices are made and maintained need to be improved. Thus, the clamor of the women teachers to stop discrimination at the workplace is consistent with Butler's overarching maxim that the possibilities of a more livable life must be examined, while the possibilities of a non-bearable life must be minimized, okay? Or rather maximized, the first part, while the possibilities of non-bearable life must be minimized. Okay? For indeed, the livable life is the one that surpasses the human life. On a personal note, I humbly admit that this academic effort, as of now, is more of a work in progress. It is my first ever attempt to write something about feminism and on the perspectives of Judith Butler. So with your sincere comments and suggestions, I hope this will not be my last attempt. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Good morning.
Thank you, Emer, for your presentation. Now we will proceed to the Q&A.